What's going on, guys? We're back this week with another episode of Schmack Talk. And we're just going to dive right into this. AP polls for this week are showing University of Cincinnati at number 2. And their strength of schedule is 86th in the country. I don't get it. Like, why?
That's all you got. That's all you got to say, man. They're pulling a Notre Dame. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, like they're gonna make if they get into college playoffs, they are going to play their first game and get blown the fuck out. And if they somehow miraculously pull out a win there, which I don't see happening, they're not winning the championship. Like, first you're gonna have Georgia. Georgia's gonna be there.
I think we talked about that off
hands
there.
down,
they're going to be there regardless.
Yeah, Georgia's going to be there. And then you'll have, if Oregon can win out, they're going to be for the Pac-12. They have an opportunity. And then,
they have a marquee win against Ohio State, so that boosts their...
Yeah, it boosts their look, too.
If Ohio State keeps trending upward, it's going to boost
Oregon
their
is also going to trend upward. Yeah.
Yeah. And people who actually pay attention are going to be like, oh, you beat them week 2. Their quarterback wasn't really healthy. But also on the other end, Oregon's dealing with injuries. So if they can figure out how to win without key guys out, it's going to help them regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
So absolutely, they're going to trend upward.
And in the Big 12, you got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Both are very solid teams. I think we both kind of lean more toward Oklahoma State. They both run this similar type of offense, very explosive, very quick. However, when it comes to defense, they are far from in between. Where Oklahoma's like, oh, you scored. It took you 10 minutes. We scored in 5 seconds. Okay. You got the ball again. Kill time for us.
That's so accurate. I'm looking at Oklahoma State's schedule right now, and they're at Iowa State this week. So that'll be tough just because they have Iowa State has a good defense, especially under, I think it's Campbell. He's actually doing a great thing. I know that Iowa State's not the team that they were last year, but it's still a reputable program. But they don't play. So they got Iowa State, Kansas, West Virginia, TCU, Texas Tech. That's their next 5. I mean, those are gimme wins for the most part.
Gimme wins, but they're also decent teams.
It's a decent team in Iowa State, West Virginia, and I think TCU. But it's also you look at it and you're like, you should win.
Yeah,
like it's not really. Oh, is it going to be close? It's Oklahoma State. You should win all 5 of those games by at least 2 touchdowns. And then they closed the season hosting OU. Now, if you guys remember, the Big 12, because they only have, I think it's only 10. They only have 10 teams, so they don't have 2 divisions. It's the top 2 teams play the following week, the Big 10 championship. So we could see Battle of Bedlam 2 weeks in a row.
And I honestly think that'll be what we'll see, because based on just the Big 12 right now, those are the 2 teams that they're going to play, and then one of those teams is going to get a loss. Whatever team gets that loss, they're still number 2 in the conference. So they're still going to play each other again. Unless for some reason, one of the 2 is our quarterback's hurt or something like that happens, some oddball event. That's the only way I see, or I don't see Oklahoma and Oklahoma State playing for the Big 12 championship.
Now, Oklahoma, on the other hand, so I guess Oklahoma State's already had their bye. Oklahoma hasn't had their bye yet.
Yeah.
They have Kansas. Oh, man. Kansas gets Oklahoma and Oklahoma State back-to-back. That sucks for Kansas. Anyway.
Yeah.
Kansas, Texas Tech, Baylor, Iowa State. So if you're looking at the rest of the season, Oklahoma has the harder path because Oklahoma State caught Baylor early. Or not really early. It was 2 weeks ago. But still, they caught them before Baylor really found their stride.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just watching. I've watched a couple of Oklahoma games now just because I'm like, are these really close games? Like, what's going on? I see him tripping up. I see him tripping up before they get to Oklahoma State. I see that happening.
And I honestly, if Baylor doesn't give it to them, I think Iowa State has the potential to, just because they're almost like the Purdue of the Big Ten, low key. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would kind of say they're like the Northwestern, because like some years they're good, some years they're not. But yeah, I like that whole Purdue. For the listeners who don't know, Purdue has a knack for not showing up unless they're facing a top 5 team.
Yeah.
It's typically Ohio State is who they show up for. But this past week, we can just segue right into that. Iowa got smacked. Okay. Like when I was talking to someone, they're like, oh, did you see? And I had a bunch of stuff going on this weekend. And so I didn't really watch that game at all. And plus Ohio State was on bye. So I was like, this is so boring. But also because they're on bye, I was doing a bunch of stuff. But someone's like, oh, did you see Iowa lost to Purdue? And I was like, what? Really? They said 24-17, not 24-7.
Yeah, no, I was thinking like, because I was just like, I had the like Kentucky game on, the Kentucky Georgia, which like we kind of figured Georgia was going to get that dub there. But like,
I think we predicted that
Kentucky
second half
kept up a little bit.
It was really the first half.
Yeah,
first half they kept
were
it
kind of neck and neck. But then,
I think we called that second half blowout. I think we called that.
That was going to be the thing that kind of finished them. But I mean, dude, like 24-7 to an unranked Purdue. Like, bro, what? I'd
have to dive in. I'd have to do the deep dive, but I think that just shows like what we kind of voiced our concerns with Iowa is offense.
Yeah.
And I think that showed.
Yeah, it definitely showed, especially because Purdue, an unranked team, now ranked 25, was able to hold them to 7 points, which is the most
at Iowa. I mean, it was at Iowa
too, at home too. Like you got the stadium advantage, and yet like still get blown out. Like,
you ready for this? Iowa's quarterback, 17 for 32, 195 yards. So not great. All right.
Yeah.
He threw 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions. I'm sorry. You turn the ball over 4 times in general, you're going to lose the game. So maybe it's not the offense is terrible. Maybe he just had a terrible game. Maybe it was that. We'll find out. Unfortunately, that kind of hurts Ohio State because, we were hoping that Iowa was going to be in the top 3 when Ohio State potentially played them in the championship. So that hurts that a little bit. I still think that if they start blowing teams out, they'll be back up in the top 10.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it was kind of a one-off event. But I mean, it's also kind of sketchy because, you lost to an unranked team with 2 losses already on the season.
Now, Purdue's only 4-2 though, so if Purdue keeps trending upward, then it doesn't look as bad. Like we said, Purdue is they're that tricky team.
Yeah, and like I mean, Purdue's like schedule right now, like next week they have Wisconsin. Since Wisconsin's down, Purdue should probably win that. Then Nebraska. Purdue would probably win that one.
I don't know though, because Nebraska's been playing better. Nebraska's been playing better football in general. So I don't know about that.
But then that November 6th and November 13th, you got Michigan State number 9, and then Ohio State number 5.
Oh Lord!
Those 2 games, if they show up and they play and they win both of those games, what the fuck is going on? Like,
if that happens, I give up on this season.
Purdue might be in playoffs.
Because there's 2 losses, they won't get in.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
If that happens,
and just make it excluded.
If that happens, then UC all the way.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think UC is going to put up a chance against any of these teams.
UC versus Purdue would be very interesting.
See, that would be a game that I think that would be close,
I think it would. Like, I think a UC Nebraska would be close.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know that though. That's I mean, this is all like speculation too. So it's like,
You know what? Let's go UC Texas. I want to see that.
If UC beats on, I want to see UC make it to a bowl game. Like if it's not the like college football playoffs,
That's
they're
gonna
going.
happen.
They're going to like what's the next in line?
They played Georgia in the Peach Bowl last year. They're gonna get to a high bowl game if they don't get in. I mean, it's gonna happen. I wonder. Just speaking of the whole UC thing, I wonder how much it is the fact that Luke Fickle's their coach. Everybody knows Luke Fickle knows what he's talking about and knows how he coaches. Because I feel like if it was not somebody who won a national championship at Ohio State as a coordinator and was sought after for a Michigan State job, for a Notre Dame job at one point, for a USC potentially, like if it wasn't somebody sought after those jobs, would the hype around UC be as much? Because I feel like a couple of years ago we saw a UCF team that was doing what UC's doing, and the AP was kind of like, "We don't know anything about you. Like, no, stay over there." So I wonder if it really is about who you know and the reputation that Fickle brings.
Now that I'm thinking about, now that you've like brought that up, I think that that's probably what's going on. Just because Luke Fickle's been there before with Ohio State, he is a sought after coach, and he has a good reputation. Like, I mean, he brought the Bearcats have been like decent, but since he started coaching there, they've become like a whole different team. Like they're actually a competitive team. I don't want to say they're top tier and they can hang in the Big 12.
Yeah,
they can hang in the Big 10. I don't think they're a top Power 5 school. That's the one
they're
thing.
They're a competitive team. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. It's if you stick them in the ACC, if you stick them in the Big 12, if you stick them in the Big 10, what's going to happen is they're going to be the Marylands and the Indianas where like every 3 years they're going to be like, hey, we're good. Where it's like you always have good players, but you just can't hang with playing Ohio State and Penn State and Michigan every single year. You're just not going to beat them all. But I think you're absolutely right that they're just competitive.
Yeah, and I think that it can go to there's a few different ways it could go. But like if you see so let's say, for instance, they go to Big 12 next year. Everything happens all next year. Don't think it's going to happen like that. I think we're probably looking at a 2-year time frame for them to switch over to the Big 12. But once they get there, if they're fucking up the Big 12, bruh, that's game. That's game. I mean, like they're going to be a top 5 top team. But like, I mean, with the Big 12, you're not. I mean,
it's like, just there will always be that what if. There will always be a what if because Oklahoma and Texas aren't there. I mean, that's the one thing that will always hold them back is that there will always be the what if. Well, I mean, you're playing in a Power 5, but is it really a Power 5 because you don't have Oklahoma, you don't have Texas? I think we know that Oklahoma State would like to win that conference because Oklahoma State's probably licking their lips being like, oh, we're the big dogs now, give us a couple of years and we're the ones eating at the table. However, at the same time, they're probably looking around and be like, I don't really want to play TCU and Baylor and BYU. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want those reputations, especially the 4 that we brought in. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Iowa State and Oklahoma State bolted. If they were the next 2 to be like, you know what, psych, we're out. Like, see ya. Because if you actually look at Power 5, the power conferences all next to each other, the joke has always been the ACC's been like really weak, and that Texas and Oklahoma holds up the Big 12. Well, without them in the Big 12, it's a legitimate conversation of who's better, the Big 12 or the ACC. And I'm kind of leaning towards the ACC. I like Iowa State. I like Oklahoma State. But if we're talking about top to bottom, I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards the ACC in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, especially like ACC, they've made runs, Florida State, Clemson, But like since then they've been down, like, and you always have like your Virginia Tech, which always seems to be like a pretty decent team. Like they don't seem to lose a whole lot.
Yeah.
But
they're
now
like
that I'm
sneaky
seeing
good.
their rankings, they're not showing too hot right now. They're on a 2-game losing streak. So maybe not. But like, you know, you have decent teams in there. They're just not like SEC or Big Ten caliber. I mean,
Yeah.
but like when I think Big Ten, I'm thinking like Ohio State, like Michigan State, Michigan, you know,
You're
schools
thinking of
that
your
constantly have,
traditional,
yeah,
your
you
traditional
know,
powerhouses.
and even with that, you know, that like an ACC school, like I don't think Pitt could come in and like fuck up Ohio State or Michigan State. I see Pitt playing like
Oh,
Purdue and it
Pitt.
being a good game.
Oh,
Like,
Pitt. The funniest thing though is that Pitt has wanted to be in the Big Ten for so long, and
yeah,
the Big Ten has constantly been like, we don't like, we would take you because geographically Pitt makes sense.
it makes sense. It
It
does.
makes
Like,
total
honestly,
sense.
if Pitt wanted to leave, though, I would take them in the Big Ten just
I would
because
take Pitt. I
hockey
mean, like,
at Pitt, low key nasty.
I don't even know Pitt had a hockey team. Are you
I'm
serious
pretty
right
sure they
now?
have a hockey team.
I
Yeah.
know. Do they?
I gotta make sure on this. I'm pretty sure they have a hockey team, or I might be thinking like Wake Forest or some shit like that.
I don't know, man. See, now our listeners are like, are we really talking about Pitt
Are they
Panthers?
really getting this?
Pitt Panthers
Wait,
hockey. I'm gonna Pitt
they
hockey.
do. They do.
They do indeed. Well, how did I not know that? Pittsburgh's right there. That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
mean,
I'm
I don't
surprised
really.
that Ohio State doesn't like schedule them.
Yeah,
You know, like why don't?
and I feel like outside of like, you know, football, Pitt would be a good pickup. You know, just because they have pretty much all the sports that Big Ten is competitive in, and like geographically, it makes sense to have them in there. Which like it makes more sense.
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
you know, like I mean, but they're also right by
More
like
sense than
Virginia and
Rutgers.
stuff like that. You know, yeah, Rutgers. I'm still like trying to
I
figure
love
out a little bit.
Giano. I just don't like the fact that it's New Jersey.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really like. I don't hate the Big Ten for adding Rutgers and Maryland. I think they were definitely good additions.
I like
But
Maryland. Not a lot of people
I
like
do like
Maryland.
Maryland.
I like Maryland.
Maryland's
I
low-key
think I
slept
know
on.
Ohio State. Ohio State smacked them. Okay, like let's just be honest. Ohio State smacked them, but every single year, if you legitimately look at their roster, they got dudes.
Yeah,
They beat Texas twice in the last 3 years. Okay, so like if we're gonna say Texas is amazing, then we better say Maryland's amazing. Like, Maryland, I think you're absolutely right. They are slept on big time. It's just they have that card of, oh, we get to play Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan every single year.
yeah, and I feel
And
like
they're never going to beat all 4 of those in one year.
yeah,
You know,
and
like
that's
it's
the
just not
thing.
going to happen.
Once they do, though, I don't see why Maryland wouldn't be top 10, top 5, just because they're
Oh,
able to play
absolutely.
with the big dogs of the Big Ten, you know. And I mean, year in, year out, they're going to play those teams. If they can show consistency and be like, hey, we only lost one this year to like Ohio State or Michigan,
Yeah.
then like they show like a threat to other Big Ten schools.
Well, what everybody keeps forgetting is that I think it was 3 years ago. I think it was, 2 or 3 seasons ago, they took Ohio State to double overtime.
Yeah, I remember that game.
Maryland has dudes, and it's really just a coaching thing. I just think their coach just can't put it together. Like it's 1 or 2 pieces here and there, and it also doesn't help. We talked about it last week. They lost their top receiver 2 weeks ago, and then their second receiver against Ohio State. So like they're down their top 2 receivers.
Yeah.
So you can't look at what they do the rest of the season and actually be like, oh my God, they suck again. Like they don't have their playmakers. Come on. Like if Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave both went down, we'd be ringing that bell. We'd be like, look, the best 2 receivers in the nation aren't playing. Like, but I mean, you gotta acknowledge it.
I also feel that it's something like they have the talent, but they don't have the right. I feel like they're still trying to figure out what kind of team they are. And they're just kind of throwing guys in. I feel like once they get like a set, like, okay, this is the offense we're going to run. This is the players that we need to fill set offense. And this is the defense.
A few moments later.
But yeah, I think Maryland definitely has like the team. I just don't think that like they have the staffing as far as like players go, but I think they run into problems with just having like a set like offense and a set defense like style and like a tradition at the school. That makes sense.
It's an identity crisis. I mean, that's what it is. They don't have a true identity and they haven't found one yet. So I think you're absolutely right. Once they figure that out, they'll be fine. It also doesn't help that the tradition for Maryland is more of lacrosse and baseball than football. So, I mean, that doesn't help. And basketball, you know, they're a powerhouse at basketball. So when you don't have that backing, then it's harder to get it going.
Yeah, but I think with like where they lack in football, they make up elsewhere for sure.
Absolutely.
Like they're not a team that you can just be like, oh, we got Maryland this week, easy win. You know, they're not like an easy, well, we can just walk over these guys. Like if you're playing like Kent State or like BG or one of those like MAC schools, like
Kent State.
Alma mater, baby, let's get it. Talking shit. But like, I mean, like it's. I think if I could change one thing with like the current setup of the Big Ten, I would definitely say get rid of Rutgers, low key.
So mean.
Add them to the ACC.
It makes so much sense.
It just makes sense. Like, I mean,
you're swapping Rutgers and Pitt. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maryland, once they figure out their shit, I think they're golden. At least football wise. Elsewhere, like lacrosse, fucking set. Like they're just dogs. They are dogs. They will carry the Big Ten. Like, bro, like when you hear Maryland lacrosse, like it's like, oh shit, okay, we actually have to show up and play. But you also have Johns Hopkins also in the Big Ten, just for lacrosse, which is like two dogs right there. Like,
I would love to see. I would love to see Maryland get a hockey team. I think they could. They could mess some people up with a hockey team. I think that'd be very interesting.
They would definitely be the spot, like geographically, like that's where I feel like a lot of like hockey is played, low key. Just like East Coast.
Yeah, it's the East Coast.
They would be able to get the like staff for sure. They would be able to fill the roster. I don't think that would be a problem. I think the main thing would just be getting it set up.
Oh yeah.
Once they have that done.
Penn State was able to do it in like 2 years. So if Penn State can do it, Maryland can do it.
And I think that would be a good addition, but I don't mean they're probably like, oh, we want to split our funds to like lacrosse, or we want to put more funds into the academic portion or whatever it may be. And I don't think that's their big concern right now. But I think in the future, that would be a great addition for them moving forward.
But to go on the other side of the spectrum, so obviously we're talking about Maryland, which isn't really a traditional powerhouse in football, but to talk about two powerhouses and traditional powerhouses in Michigan and LSU, we're gonna dive into that real quick. So let's hit on our neighbors up north, that team up north, real quick. Do you think they're real this year? I mean, I know they're ranked number 6, but do you think it's legit?
They're ranked 6th, but I mean, like basing off of their schedule currently.
Well, I'm looking at it.
The only like real threat that they've played, or I guess you could argue two, would be Rutgers and Nebraska.
I think that's the glaring, oh my God, this team is not as good as people think.
Yeah, like you pull out a 3-point win against Nebraska. That's like, Nebraska isn't one to sleep on. They usually are a decent team, but they're not like a top dog, or they haven't been a top dog at least. I think
here's
Michigan
the
gets
thing.
a lot of their like hype in the AP polls just from being Michigan.
Oh yeah, it's that whole you're a traditional powerhouse. But I mean, I'm looking at the box score right now. So you have, good Lord, you won the game with 0 passing touchdowns. So the score breakdown at halftime, it was 13-0 Michigan. Okay. In the third quarter, Michigan was outscored by Nebraska 22-6.
Yeah.
22-6. And then you have in the fourth quarter, Michigan outscored Nebraska 13-7. And the only reason why Michigan, I remember seeing this highlight, Nebraska was driving down the field to win the game and fumbled. So I'm sorry. I can't.
That comes down to just like, is it just that one play that saved them? Based on how the game went, yes. But I'm also thinking like, it's Nebraska, like it's an unranked team. Nebraska is kind of a dog, but they're not like top dogs, So I was expecting at least like a 14-point spread. At least, Michigan at least winning by a little more than 3. But I think we'll definitely see if Michigan's a true team come October 30th, just because they are going to be playing Michigan State.
Yeah, you got their remaining schedule is hosting Northwestern, which I know Northwestern's not amazing this year, but tough defense to score on.
Yeah.
At Michigan State.
That one will be a tough one.
Oh, absolutely. Hosting IU, which IU kind of looked like they've kind of got back on track the last 2 weeks. At Penn State, that'll be tough. At Maryland, that won't be a cakewalk. And then you're hosting the Ohio State University Buckeyes. And I'm sorry, but if you gave up 22 points to Nebraska in one quarter, you're going to give up 30 points to Ohio State in each quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth of it.
They definitely need to tie down whatever is going on there. Like, I haven't really been able to check in on a lot of their games just because,
it looks like a normal hardball team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly. I've watched them a little bit. It looks like a normal hardball team. Old school, doesn't really. There's not a lot of flashes. It's just
they're not doing anything out of the ordinary. They're doing basic football. They're not trying to
throwback Michigan football, which is really easy to stop if you have fast guys.
Yeah,
if you have fast, strong guys who are disciplined, you're going to beat them. It's simple as that.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got 3 top 10 contenders every other week to finish out your season.
Oh yeah, they're screwed.
Michigan State,
fine.
I see Michigan beating Michigan State. That's
but I'm pulling for Sparty, dude. I'm pulling for Sparty.
I think Michigan State will beat Michigan just because Michigan State is on it. They're playing really good football right now.
Well, what's interesting is you have a Michigan team that clearly has bought into Harbaugh's identity, or maybe not truly bought into, but it just looks like, your typical Harbaugh team. And Michigan State's back to their identity that they were under D'Antonio. So it's going to be interesting because I think it's going to be that, maybe it is another block punt that seals the game.
Yeah.
Maybe it comes down to
it'll be a close game. I think it will definitely be a close game. If it is, Michigan State, I think will still pull through just because they are a better team in my eyes. But I mean, Michigan State could they're a more complete, well-rounded team where
because Michigan's the better team. Michigan's the better team between the two. If you look at it roster-wise, they're the better team.
Oh yeah,
but the more complete team together is
Michigan
State at this current moment.
I think that's more important than having, because you can have all the talent in the world. I'm going to go back and quote Miracle. If you haven't seen that movie, go see that movie because, great movie. But
can't win on talent alone.
Exactly. You cannot. You can have. That's why all-star teams don't work. You can have all the
You're
talent.
just quoting the movie at this point.
Exactly. But like, it's so true. Like, you can have an all-star team, but they're not going to be as good
All-star
as
teams.
if you mesh together a team who would actually like fit together. Because most of the guys that I feel like are going to Michigan are top 5, 4-star like recruits. And
It's good
when they get there,
it's just mentally they're like, ugh.
it's mentally they're like, I feel like most of the players are used to being stars. And when they go to Michigan, they're like, oh, we'll make you a star. You'll be a star. But then they get there, and I feel like you don't see like, oh, a bunch of Michigan players are going to the draft this year. Like,
well, that's the
and if
thing.
they do go to the draft, you don't really see them going first round, unless if you have like, I believe Denard Robinson went first round. But that's
which
like the
didn't
last
make sense.
Yeah.
We went
But,
first round
like-
as a running back. But
Yeah.
no, you bring up a great point, because I also think it's partially they don't get the guys that like mentally that Nick Saban and Urban Meyer / Ryan Day get. I'm still a little kind of iffy on Ryan Day right now. I feel like he's gotten some divas, and you know, we've talked about that a lot, but it's not the same guys that go to Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, the guys who buy into the cultures there. A lot of the times it's the guys who wanted to go to Ohio State, and Ohio State didn't want them. So they're like, F Ohio State, I'm going to go beat them. And then you go 0-4 against them. But
exactly.
You pointed out something with the draft. They have really good guys. Donovan People-Jones. I know you love him for the Brownies now. That dude was the number 1 receiver coming out of high school. He chose to go to Michigan instead of Ohio State, and he was a 6th round pick. I mean, the development at Michigan is not where it needs to be.
That's where they're, but they're not developing into the bigger stars that they need to be like challenging at the NFL level, which is what college football is. You're literally getting them ready to go play pro ball. Or if, if someone's like, hey, I'm not going to go pro, I want to be a doctor or something, pull like an Aaron Kraft. He did try to make it to the NBA, but didn't make it, played overseas for, I think, 2 years, and then came back and is finishing out his degree. I think he's a doctor now, actually. But
he's still in medical school.
Okay, yeah. But like, I feel like you don't see like, oh, Michigan sends 6 people top 10 draft picks. Like,
no,
you don't get that. Where like Alabama and Ohio State, I think
it's every
LSU
year. It's
did it.
Multiple first round picks. It's
like I think the main thing you look for is just getting those top first round picks coming from your school. Mm-hmm. Once you start seeing that, that's when you have that like development of skill at the university that is gonna get you those wins, get you those first round picks. And I just think Michigan is lacking on that end, where Michigan State, I feel like they're kind of on the same boat, but they get more developed. And like a lot of the people I think of from Michigan State are still like in the league, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to go back and look at the numbers, but I think Michigan, it's pretty even. I think last year Michigan State didn't have anybody drafted, and that was like the first time in forever.
Yeah.
Because typically it's at least one player drafted. And, we talk about it. We're spoiled with Ohio State because it's like every year it's, how many first round picks did we get because we're so good. Alabama fans are the same way. LSU fans are the same way. Georgia fans are the same way. But when you really look at it, it is tough to get guys drafted. I mean, think about how many colleges there are in general that the NFL gets to choose from. Typically, they're going to pick an FBS guy, not an FCS, not a D2, not a D3. But even with the FBS, you have like 100 schools and only 32 teams get to pick, and not always do they. I mean, there's only 7 rounds. So, the funnel gets really, really small really quick. They weed people out. So it's impressive just to get one guy, but like you said, once you get multiple guys in the first round, you put that on your wall. You show that to recruits, and then people are like, oh man, the development's here. It's not just look at all the draft picks. It's look at these guys getting paid right away. You know, if you come here, that can be you.
And like I was watching a tour of like Alabama's like locker room that they just got done last year or this year. Super nice facility. If you haven't gotten to look at that, recommend looking into it. It is
cryotherapy chambers.
So nice.
They have cryotherapy chambers.
Like what? Bro, what? Exactly. Like they have like a whole like walkway of just NFL players from Alabama and quotes of like what they say about Alabama, like the tradition is where like what got me to the league, or other like quotes of inspiration, or just what they thought of the school. And like I feel like I haven't seen like a Michigan tour. I bet they probably have a wall like that, but I don't think it's going to be as packed with recent players as it would have been in like the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, you know?
Absolutely. It's not going to be equivalent to Alabama and Ohio State.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
that's the big thing that nobody really, I think that's the thing that frustrates me a little bit being an Ohio State fan, is everyone's like, oh, Alabama's so amazing. And it's, yes, Alabama's amazing. Yeah. Yes, that's why they frustrate me. Because obviously you want your team to be number one. It's as simple as that. But if you look at the numbers, Alabama and Ohio State are the only college programs that if you took NFL guys right now who are in the league, you can field an entire NFL team, every single position, with Alabama guys and with Ohio State guys who are on active rosters. Those are the only two teams that you can do that with. Nobody else has 53 guys that you can put on a roster right away.
Exactly. And that's just like, it just shows the development. Like once they could be stars in high school, go to college, and they just get better. They get so much better especially if you're going to like Alabama. Like, I don't know what Nick Saban does with those guys, but dude, like they are so like they're beasts. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. They are freaks of nature.
You're talking their DBs, and Ohio State has, once Urban Meyer got to Ohio State, he took the game plan from Nick Saban. It's really not that hard to see what they're doing, because Ohio State and Alabama do the same thing. If you look at it, their DBs. Now, Ohio State will still get some secondary guys who are 5'10".
Yeah.
There's no one shorter than 6 foot on Alabama's roster. If they're on scholarship, they are 6 foot or taller for secondary guys, and that allows them to cover the wide receivers better. Ohio State has taken that. I mean, Josh Proctor's a 6'2" safety. I understand Proctor's out for the rest of the season, but he's a 6'2" safety, and you have Court Williams coming in and Ronnie Hickman, who are both 6'1", 6'2". They're big guys. I mean, we're talking about changing the game, because secondary guys aren't supposed to be that tall. They're not supposed to be that big. And here we are at Ohio State and Alabama. We're throwing out guys who could be linebackers at Purdue and say, you want to throw it over top? That's fine, but your receiver's going to take a lick.
Yeah. And like, I feel like most of the secondary, at least for Ohio State, from what I've noticed, is a lot of those guys could play wide receiver or they could play linebacker.
Yeah, like, I mean, you're talking Court Williams and Craig Young.
Fucking dudes.
Yeah, Court Williams, Craig Young, they were both Craig Young entered as a linebacker at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So Court Williams played linebacker and safety in high school. And then you're talking about Ryan Watts, who's a redshirt freshman. He's 6'3". Like 6'3" bullet. Like he can cover anybody.
They're fast as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, that you have to be that to be a defensive back.
Yeah.
Like, especially in the league we're going into, where it's pretty much, we're gonna throw it pretty much every other play. Like, you have to be able to like be quick, stay up with your receiver, and also be able to make the play if it comes like to you. Like, you can't be missing tackles, you can't be missing coverage. you have to be on your shit to especially play at like Alabama, Ohio State, or I mean, really, you could bring in LSU or any SEC Big Ten school.
I would bring in Georgia before LSU because Georgia has. I honestly like. I love watching Georgia play. It's still that old school where it's like it's not as flashy as Ohio State. Like Ohio State tries to hit you hard, hit you fast, and Georgia's like, we're gonna do our thing. We're gonna run you down, and we're gonna pull away. But their defense is relentless. You want to talk about another team that can almost field an NFL team because of active players? Georgia's right there.
Oh yeah,
especially with their defense, and they put out good receivers. They put out great tight ends. And I mean, don't forget running backs. Nick Chubb is a monster. So, yeah, I would put Georgia. Georgia's very similar to Alabama, Ohio State. They're still a little bit more like they stayed to their roots. They didn't really change how they played the game as much as Ohio State and Alabama did in regard to offense. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about the top of the top. Those are the top three. Like without a doubt, I think LSU is kind of. Speaking of LSU, we can just go right into that.
Oh yeah. So if you guys haven't heard, Coach O has resigned as the head coach of LSU.
He's stepping. They're mutually separating at the end of the season, which doesn't make sense.
I think I might have seen a document or like a article written about him that he used to bring his like girlfriends to practice, and then he would throw their kids in on the drills.
Girlfriends, interesting. God, the scandals with LSU just keep coming.
I know. I'm just like, I mean, I'm not 100% sure on exactly what's going on there, but as of like right now, I don't know what this means for LSU. I feel like Coach O's kind of been a staple at LSU. I mean,
yeah, but like not really. He hasn't been there for that long. That's what's crazy is you think of LSU, you think of Les Miles, and you think of Coach O, but like Coach O hasn't been there for like, he hasn't been there like how Nick Saban's been at Alabama. Yeah, I mean, maybe some of those diehard LSU fans think of Nick Saban before he was at Alabama.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things where it's like, if they would need to get a coach that can like step in and just like take the talent that LSU gets and like run it, like because as of right now, like I don't see LSU really as a threat in the SEC.
No, if we're being honest. So it's so frustrating from a college football fan standpoint because, like you said, the talent they have is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's really and I feel they don't have a quarterback.
We can really say that about a lot of SEC and a lot of Big Ten, Pac-12, a few Pac-12 schools.
Yeah, let's not throw USC in there.
Yeah. Thanks. Whatever. What's his name? I can't even think of his name. Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, my God.
Oh God.
You ruined the school straight up.
Well, yeah.
After like all those scandals ruined that school.
And then he dipped real quick and was like, let me go to the NFL.
Like, I'm going to Seattle, guys. I'll see you later. And
God, then I hate Pete Carroll.
Like, that's one coach that'll grind my gears for the rest of my life. Not even going to lie on that.
Pete Carroll. Damn you, Pete.
With Coach O leaving, I feel like, I mean, I think of Coach O before I think of Les Miles, but I mean, that's just because.
I think that's partially because we like Coach O more.
Yeah.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Bro, Coach O reminds me of
the dude from
Waterboy.
Yeah.
I love
that.
But like he does that, man. But then he also is like LSU's been a pretty good school the past like 5 years. I think like this year they're starting to fall. Like And I just don't like seeing it because I'm used to seeing like Alabama, LSU as like top dogs. And
Well, it's fun. It's fun when they're good. It's like not, but it's fun at the same time because then you have that. Oh, the LSU Auburn game means a little more. The LSU Alabama game means a little more. You know, ooh, LSU Georgia play each other this year. Like LSU Florida. Like when LSU's good, every game means more.
Yeah.
So as a fan, it's like, oh, I'm going to tune into that. And this year, you're like, I think that's the thing. I've kind of reflected a little bit on the first half of the season, and it's Alabama's good, Georgia's good, Ohio State is kind of getting to where we expected. But other than that, like, I'm not going to turn on an Arkansas game. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to.
The only reason
I would turn on an LSU Ole Miss game. Like if you told me LSU was ranked and with how Ole Miss is looking, I'm going to turn that game on. But I'm not now because I'm like, I mean, LSU sucks this year. So when LSU's good, it means more.
Yeah. And I mean, just looking at the top 25 right now, we got 1, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we only have 5 SEC schools.
Well, and let's name those. So you got Georgia, you got Bama, and then Ole Miss, which it's great to see Ole Miss back up there because they're one of those historic programs. And oh my God, I love their powder blue. Their throwbacks.
Dude, it's so nice. It's so nice.
Have you seen their all powder blue for baseball? Because it's just, ooh.
I have not. I don't think I've actually seen it.
Please look that up right now. Ole Miss baseball powder blue. Go look up that. But you got Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss. Those are good. Kentucky, it's a good story, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, I'm not going to tune into a Kentucky game with as much. You just look up the.
Those are clean.
They're nice. They're very nice.
I like those.
But that's the thing is like, I'm not going to plug into a Kentucky Florida game and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch this from start to finish as I would an Alabama LSU game, you know?
Yeah.
And then the same thing with Texas A&M. Texas A&M has talent, but I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, let me go watch that Texas A&M game. It looks like there's 6 because Auburn's still ranked somehow. But I mean, that's the thing. When LSU's good, those Auburn games, those Alabama games, those Ole Miss games, they mean a little more.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just don't like seeing all the like SEC schools kind of like down. I kind of miss like that early, or let's say like 2000s, early like 2010s. Where like South Carolina dogs, Florida dogs, Georgia dogs, Alabama dogs, Ole Miss dogs, Auburn dogs, LSU dogs. Like I miss seeing SEC like that.
Well, what happened is that coaches from the SEC went to other conferences, and now we're seeing a level playing field. So, I mean, that's what's happening. But I will say this: it is super weird to. And like, I don't know if I'm like upset about it or not, but Florida and LSU both being unranked is really weird.
Yeah. Like, I miss seeing like, I would even add Auburn into that statement just because I feel like
Auburn's not where they normally are.
Yeah. Auburn used to be at least a top 25 school, but
Auburn's 19 right now.
I mean, but like they're not
saying they used to be a top like 15 like consistently.
Yeah, they used to be a lot better than they are now, and I don't know. It's just like like I kind of like that everything's kind of getting evened out as far as like conferences go, but we still have top dogs. You know, we still have Alabama, we still have LSU or not LSU, OSU. We have like Georgia, who's like kind of making a come up in the SEC. I mean, as far as like being a top one, they're always like top 3 for sure. But like, I don't know. I'm like, it's throwing me off not seeing like some of these teams doing better than I'm used to seeing. Like Florida is what 4-3.
Yeah.
What? Like,
wait, I'm still not over Florida beating Ohio State in 2 national championships in the same year. so they can suck it. I'm fine with that, but it is weird.
It's just like it's not the same conference that it used to be, which I mean, we're definitely going through a change. We're going through a big shift, and like that's like I'm fine with that. Like it'll bring more competitiveness into other conferences, but then we have like just Texas is like, hey, we want to play in the SEC, and like honestly, as much as I don't like Texas, I mean I do like Texas, but like I haven't followed them recently. Like probably the past like 12 years, but like
because they haven't really been relevant.
Yeah, they haven't been relevant, but like they're joining the conference, and I'm thinking to myself, well, like if they play how they're playing right now, they could beat Florida. I could see it. They could definitely beat Tennessee, South Carolina, Mizzou, Vanderbilt. That's just the East. Go over to the West. Arkansas, Mississippi State, LSU, possibly.
Well, no, they lost to Arkansas by 20. Remember? Arkansas renamed Texas West Arkansas.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, I mean,
Suey.
I think we're going through a lot of changes right now in college football, and it's like, especially with a bunch of teams switching up their conference, it's definitely creating issues within, like, who's good, who's not.
There's a little power struggle going on.
Yeah, and it's kind of refreshing to an extent where we're seeing teams that, you know, you don't usually see showing up in the top 10, like UC. Like, I'm going to say that one because that's really one that, like, really sticks out. But, like, you have, like, Coastal Carolina, Kentucky, Wake Forest. Wake Forest one surprises me a little bit, not going to lie.
See, that's the issue, that Wake Forest 6-0, number 16. That's what the ACC is hanging their hat on right now.
Yeah, and I mean, Wake Forest hasn't really been good since, like, early 2000s for, like, a couple of years, and then, like, fell off. Yeah. But, like...
you talking crap about Pittsburgh. They're at number 23, 5-1.
Yeah.
Say they can't hang in the Big Ten.
I mean, they
can't. That's the reality. They can't.
Like, if we go back and, like, I don't know how else we would do this, but if we went back into, like, NCAA football 2014, and we put it
right now
a team in the Big Ten, more than likely Pitt's taking that L. Like,
yeah, but I'm pretty sure in that game, Penn State, like, sucks in that game, and I don't know why.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also 2014, so it's like,
you know, we got to download that college football revamped.
I'm ready for the release of NCAA football, like 22 or whatever. I just want it.
Not going to be next year.
Bad.
We all do.
Like, I'm one of those guys. I'd rather play NCAA over Madden. Just about any day. Just because Madden, at least previously, has been a lot of, oh, you can hand the ball off or you can throw the ball. Where college football is like, oh, hey, you want to run a read option? Or if you're cool enough, you went into Auburn and you use their playbook, and you use that War Eagle package. Fire, by the way. But like, you know, there's so many like other plays where I feel like the NFL, like all the Madden games have been like, oh, you can like run the ball with your running back. You can't really like pull out with your quarterback and run it. Unless if you had like Cam Newton and pass play. But you're not going to be running read options or anything like that. And I don't know. That's one thing I like about college football.
But those games are also because of the type of quarterbacks that you have in college versus the stereotypical quarterback in the NFL, which we're seeing that change, you know, with the new wave of quarterbacks. Which, speaking of the NFL, let's go ahead and hit on those points real quick. You guys missed it, which I missed it. I'll admit it. I didn't know the Jags and Dolphins were playing in London.
Yeah.
I love how that was like not broadcast at all. Like I didn't see any ads for it, but
Yeah.
Urban Meyer and those Jacksonville Scandal Jags got their first win of the season, first career NFL win for Trevor Lawrence, first career NFL win for Urban Meyer. You know, footballs are going in cases.
Oh yeah,
Right
for
after
sure.
that game. Oh yeah,
But
go ahead.
I mean, okay, if we're gonna be honest, the Dolphins.
I think what makes it funny for me is that the Dolphins were winning and the Jags won on the last second field goal, and it just meant that Tua lost again.
Yeah. And I think
That's
we're
what
seeing
I
that a
find
lot
funny.
more, though, especially with like the games that we've been talking about, like just like a last second field goal is like coming down to the game. You know, I don't think Jacksonville and the Miami Dolphins are gonna do anything crazy this year. But I mean, I like the win for Urban. I think he needs to keep winning as an NFL coach if he wants to stay in the NFL.
It's the name of
Because
the game right there.
yeah, I mean, well, even like the Jack said, like we lost a lot of trust in you with this scandal coming out. So, like,
Rightfully so.
yeah, no, and that's like completely understandable. I think if he wants to stay in the NFL and keep his job, he's definitely going to have to step it up and catch some wins this year. Because I mean, dude, that record's not looking too hot. Like,
no, I just
man,
love how I was just thinking about this. So both the Dolphins and the Jags are in the AFC, and Jacksonville. Well, listen, Miami's more south than Jacksonville,
yeah,
and Jacksonville's in the AFC South, but Miami's in the AFC East.
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
the more
get
and more I think about some of them, I'm like, this really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm just like, I mean, I don't get too much into like conferences, and I should probably, you know, figure a lot more of that out. But like, some of them just don't make sense.
Yeah,
Like
well, let's
that's
just put the
one of 'em.
Cowboys in the NFC East. It's fine.
Yeah,
They're in the middle
look,
of the
who
country.
cares? It's like, all right, you should be like a Central Division. Like, come on now.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah, I mean, it
I
would make too
don't.
much sense. It would make too much
Yeah,
sense, and that's
and
why it
that
doesn't make sense.
yeah, I. mm,
Oh man, but yeah, great win. I don't know, great win. I
I don't
mean,
know
it's
about
a
great
win, right?
to win.
It's a win.
And
It's a
like
win. They're
that's
going.
cool.
They can
That you got
only.
that.
They can only go up. They can
Yeah,
only go up.
and I'd like to see that for the Jags. Just because I feel like the past like 2 or 3 years they've been like the Lions for the past like 10 years.
God, don't even mention the Lions. They might go 0 for 17. Set a new record. They'll break their own record of 0 and 16 and go 0 and 17.
I was like, wait, don't
Oh
they that
my
record?
god!
But it's
They
like
did make the record.
I'm just like I don't get like I don't know like it's a cool win. I appreciate the win, but it's like I don't know. I don't see them like blowing anyone out or getting any more crazy wins this year. Like this is
No,
definitely going to be a rebuild year for them for sure. And it's
Might be a rebuild year next year. Who knows?
dude, it might be the next like couple of years. Like I think they're just like in their down for. Hopefully, it's not like the Browns for like the past like 24 years. You know, having
but
20.
speaking of the Browns,
Yeah.
they might be in some turmoil, dude. How you feel about your Brownies with Baker Mayfield potentially being hurt?
We taking L's the rest of the season. I'm gonna be straight up with you.
Well, I didn't know that Kareem Hunt is out for like 4 weeks until I checked my fantasy team this morning.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, yeah, I have him. That sucks.
yeah, and like I don't even know who their backup is at this point. Like, But like more than likely, it's let's see here. I gotta probably put quarterback in there because I'm getting like OBJ or not. Yeah, OBJ, Nick Chubb, Jarvis. Let's see here, dude. These what the fuck? What the fuck? All right, QB. All right, they got some dude named. Oh, that's practice squad.
Case Keenum's your backup quarterback.
Christ.
Let's go. And Nick Mullins. Actually, those are not terrible backups. Not ideal backups, but like actually not terrible backups.
No, I don't think they're gonna pull anything out of their ass though. Where
Oh no, I didn't say that.
I feel like it's gonna be like a Charlie Fry kind of year, if you know what I'm saying. Maybe like win like 1 or 2 games, but I don't think I think their season's almost done unless if Case can be like, "Yo, I'm a G," and like pull up and just like shit on kids. But I don't know. When was it? Will it tell me when his last start was?
Case Keenum?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. He might have started last year for the Broncos at some point. But I'm just looking at this roster. When the heck did the Browns get Janovich?
He's been there for
he's on IR, but like he's a good fullback. When the heck did that happen?
I mean, I'm like, oh hey, here's the roster. Cool. It's dude, I'm kind of upset because I feel like there goes our playoff chances.
Yeah, well, what's interesting though is that it's his left shoulder, if I saw it correctly. So it's not his throwing shoulder. So he might be able to play. It's just if he gets hit, it's gonna be a lingering pain.
And like, if you have that lingering pain, it's not going to be a fun time, and you're not going to be able to be on your top game. You're not going to be able to scramble as much because you're always going to be protecting that shoulder.
Oh yeah.
And if he takes any hits, dude, that might be his season right there. So I don't think he's gonna play next week at least. I don't know exactly what the complete injury is or what they figured out. But yeah, I think it's an L for the Browns for the season. Unless if, Baker somehow like comes back like 100% within the next couple of weeks and Case can hold it down till he's back. But I don't know. It's not looking good. It is not looking good.
It's gonna be a rough one.
Oh yeah.
Hey, just use that Cleveland motto. It's always next year.
Next year, bro. I take the Browns to the Super Bowl every day. I don't know what you mean.
I mean, I don't think they're completely out of it.
Yeah, they're not completely out of it. But it's also I don't see them. Yeah, yes, the mountain got steeper.
Yes, it's very steep now. But speaking of that, staying within the AFC North, so the Browns are currently third. We can touch on the Steelers as well as the Bengals and Ravens. We talked about the Bungles. Who do you see winning AFC North now if there's a questionable Browns team?
I might have to go with the Ravens.
Baltimore.
And that's just also coming from like fuck the Bengals, fuck the Steelers, but like, hey, I mean, yeah,
love it. Let me look at rivalries to choose who I think's gonna win.
But I mean, I think that as far as like teams go, I don't think the Steelers, they're not on their game right now. I think it's time to boot and bring in a new guy because I don't think
you got Dwayne Haskins.
That's what I'm liking. That's what I'm liking.
Tell me, Dwayne Haskins would not thrive with Chase Claypool, Juju Smith. I know Juju's hurt, but Deontay Washington and Najee Harris is a beast, absolute beast.
I think.
Tell me, Dwayne Haskins would run. Haskins can run it. He can run that offense.
But I think he would change up how they run the offense, just because he is a more mobile quarterback.
But anybody's more mobile than Ben.
Yeah, Big Ben. I mean, even when he does get running, dude, like I think I can run a little quicker. Like,
I think you can walk faster than him.
Probably.
Okay. See, everybody makes fun of Tom Brady with his whole like, look at him in the combine. I want to see Ben. I want to see Big Ben at the combine. Okay, show me that.
I don't know. Big Ben's definitely put in his years. I think he's finally just gotten to the point where he can't crash any more motorcycles and beat any more hookers. So, I think it's just his time just to kick it, enjoy retirement, because it's only downhill from here unless he starts roiding. But
well, then it's still downhill.
Yeah, then it's just even more downhill. I mean, the team would look good until he had to do a drug test, and then they're like, "Oh, hey, we found a lot of." We're just gonna have to say you're done for the season, my dude. You would need a lot of he's old. It's just getting to the point where he's at his last leg. He's not able to play like he used to. Yeah, he does have that wisdom, and I think he would be a great quarterback coach or even a head coach.
He's a good mentor.
Yeah, I think he'd be a really good mentor in NFL, college, whatever he decides to do. Even if he does broadcasting, I'd tune into that. I think he's kind of an interesting guy. But if we're going back to the Bengals to disagree there, I'd say they're gonna choke. I think they still have that
the Cincy curse, man.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get to the playoffs and it's gonna go south.
Look, because history taught us that.
But you're supposed to learn from history, right? So it doesn't repeat itself.
What? Not in this society. Yeah, but I took a hot take right there. Not in this society. We don't listen to history anymore.
That's true. No one cares about that anymore. So I mean, hey, maybe it's Cincinnati's time to be top dogs. I'd like that for Ohio, but it would shock me. I don't think that they're going to be top dogs.
But also, there's so many Buckeyes on that team that I'd be like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I can get behind it. But I mean, you can also look at the Ravens, and I just think they're a better team in general. They play way more consistently over the past years. When they make it to the playoffs, they don't just lose the first round. They usually at least make it a couple games in. I mean, I'm basing a lot of it off of history, not so much current roster, current situations, but I
think it'll be.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I think any of those three teams could be the top, but I don't know. We're going to have to see on that. If I had to give my shout out right now, I would say let's go Ravens. Let's get this dub.
Oh my God! All the Browns fans just yelled at you for saying that.
Oh, for sure they did. But you think
fake fan?
A fake fan. Yeah. I've been a fan since I was born, brother. 24 fucking years. Never bandwagoned on anything. Cleveland till I die, my guy. Let's get it. I mean, bro.
All you gotta say is I'm a Cleveland Indians fan. That's how you know I'm real.
I'm an Indians fan, a Cavs fan, and
I hate that in 5 years, kids are gonna be growing up. The Cleveland Indians, what is that?
What is it? Dude, that's gonna be so weird.
Think about that. We're gonna have to explain to our kids that it wasn't the Cleveland Guardians; it was the Cleveland Indians. And they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, Dad, that's so racist." I'll be like, "Screw you."
A few moments later.
I don't know. I just have a very trouble trusting any backup quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. But that's just because we've milled through quarterbacks like crazy for the past 12 plus years, ever since Charlie Fry. So, yeah, I think Baker's the first actual franchise quarterback that we've been able to get behind. Like Manziel was cool when he first came out, but I kind of figured he was going to. Like, I didn't think he was gonna do anything too crazy. I kind of wish he did, but he just liked to party. So
he still likes to party.
What you mean, my guy?
He still likes to party.
I don't know. It's so hard to like give a prediction on that because it was like I was really like, oh, Browns are making it like deep in the playoffs this year.
Well, I think this shows us. This shows us how much injuries can derail a team.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we're talking about the AFC North. You look at it before the season. It's like the Bengals have talent. We don't really know what they're going to be. The Ravens, they had before the season started, they had J.K. Dobbins, where it was, hey, he had a breakout season as a rookie last year. The Ravens are loaded. They went and got Rashad Bateman from Minnesota. Excuse me. Was a great receiver. He should have had a great rookie year this year. Both of them tear their ACLs. They have two starting secondaries tear their ACLs. I'm more impressed with what the Ravens are doing, how they're winning right now because they're missing so many guys.
And I think that just shows that they have the depth in the roster where like the Browns don't really have that depth as far as like key positions go.
The Browns have depth 2 deep, where the Ravens have depth 3-4 deep. That's the difference. And then also, we're talking the Steelers were a big question mark in that division, where it's can Big Ben do what's needed or like what's going to happen there. But I think it just really shows like how much injuries can really derail a team, because the Steelers are losing some key guys because of injuries, so they're not competing as good as they probably should be, and they're letting a wheelchair quarterback, lead their team. But it's just it's crazy to think about how before the season started we were like, this really looks like it's the Ravens and Browns, and now we're sitting here being like, the Bengals have a legitimate shot of winning this division.
Yeah. And I think they do. Main reason I don't want to see them win low key is just because, Browns till I die, pretty much. So I'm being a little selfish there, but it's also like,
how dare you?
I don't know.
Pittsburgh also.
Yeah. But like with Pittsburgh,
Cincinnati doesn't claim Ohio, so we can just kick them out.
I know, right? Now, like, we're the San Diego of the Midwest. You're Cincinnati of Ohio.
Never heard that before. Do they really say that?
Yeah, go to Cincinnati I've heard it so many times there, and I'm just like,
never heard that. That's funny. I mean, I don't know if I'd be like claiming I'm the San Diego of the Midwest.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what?
I don't know if
I gotta claim that. But like, I don't know. As much as I hate on the Steelers, I think with Juju being out, they have the depth to replace. They've always had wide receivers out the ass, but that's just because they had Big Ben. In his prime, great quarterback. I just think now that he's getting up in age, and it's really catching up to him. And with all the league changes, you're seeing more mobile quarterbacks enter the league. I think it's time. Put Haskins in, see what happens. This would be the time to do it, I would think, just because I don't see Big Ben coming back next year.
I think everybody's in agreement of that he's not coming back. But the big thing is, like, you don't need to just like jump ship and say, oh, we need like a Deshaun Watson or a Lamar Jackson or a Justin Fields or like somebody like you can still have a pass first guy.
Yeah,
you can still have a pass first. I mean, like, you can have an Aaron Rodgers, a Trevor Lawrence, like somebody who's gonna pass it first but can run. I think Dwayne Haskins gives you that, arm talent, arm strength that you liked in Big Ben for so many years. Big guy, hard to take down, bombs it downfield. Yeah, but he can also run when needed.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I like about I don't think it would be too much of a shift, honestly, having
No,
Dwayne
I think
Haskins
you don't have to
go
change
for
your
UN,
offense at all.
just because, it's not like the Bears picking up Justin Fields. The Bears have literally been like, you're staying in the pocket, you're not running out of the pocket.
Yeah, we
And
could do a
Justin
whole
Fields
freaking
is more
show on the
mobile back there.
Bears.
So it's like, they had to make that adjustment where I feel like with Dwayne Haskins, he's more of I'm a throw first. He's always looking for that throw first. But if the pocket collapses, he's able to get out and hopefully gain a few yards or at least get rid of the ball before taking that big hit.
And you don't take a sack. I mean, that's the big thing is that he can extend the play where he doesn't take a sack.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
and
we saw that at Ohio State. You saw that at Washington when it was the Redskins. I said it, listeners. It's the Redskins. Although Redskins makes me think of potato skins, and now I'm hungry. So I guess that's karma.
Uber Eats
going down that. Let me just hit up Applebee's on a date night. Yeah. I know TikTok people.
Dude,
I know all that.
Isn't bad. Anytime I hear Applebee's, I think of Talladega Nights. Is it bad?
Oh my god!
I was talking to some of my friends, and they're like, "Yeah, let's go to Applebee's." I'm like, "Yo, you trying to get thrown out of Applebee's though?" And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying to Reese Bobby this." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Talladega Nights." And they're like, "Oh, that." I'm like, "Yeah." But anytime I hear that,
I quoted Talladega Nights today in my classroom, and half the kids got it, and half the kids did not, and it was so sad.
Dude, I feel like, that's a classic. That is a movie that I used to be able to quote that movie. Like, you could mute it, and I would just be like, I want to go fast.
Sweet baby, 9 pounds, 6 ounces, Jesus. I like to think of my Jesus wearing a tuxedo shirt.
Yeah, shirt. Singing lead vocals to Leonard Skinner. And I'm in the front row, acid drunk. I'm having a great time.
I think, what? Oh my gosh. The best part, it's so stupid. It was one of my teammates at Thomas More, and we'd be playing Fortnite, and out of nowhere you just hear in the microphone, anarchy. I don't know what it means, but I love it.
I don't know what it means, but it sounds good.
Oh my god,
Grandma, not my prison shank.
It's such a good movie. Every time I see a cougar now, I name him Karen. I don't care if it's a dude.
There's a cougar in the car.
I know there's a cougar in the car. Put her in the car.
Bro, we should have an episode where we just talk like movies. I think that might be our next one.
Yeah, listeners, let us know what category. We could just have a movie night. We're both movie buffs. We've seen a bunch of movies. We could do that. We could do that one week.
Bro, that would be
definitely
crazy.
Do that one week.
That would be like we could record like 6 episodes right there, just talking about movies.
Probably could. My God. We could do one for each category. Just but not even like category. It could be like Will Ferrell night.
Dude, yes, we could do like Will Ferrell night, Adam Sandler night.
Oh my God, yeah,
dude, like so many options. Clint Eastwood,
with Will Ferrell. I mean, obviously, like huge Talladega Night fans. But also Step Brothers.
Step Brothers.
You got
Daddy's Home. Daddy's Home 2. Anchorman series.
Oh my God, the Anchorman. 80% of the time it works. Every time. Oh my God, I forget Paul Rudd's in that. And Steve Carell. Good Lord.
Bro, both of those, we could literally, the whole cast of Anchorman, we could probably do a movie night for each of those characters.
Yeah.
Like, bruh.
Steve Carell cracks me up.
Comment down below. Let us know if you want to hear us talk about movies for a night.
For real. If it's like movie night, yes or no, but then also like give us some suggestions. Would you rather it be like genre, actor / actress? I mean,
dude, there's so many options there.
It's just
Bro.
one of my buddies, his now wife actually for his birthday one year got him the Sex Panther cologne.
No way.
Yeah, she did. She found the Sex Panther cologne, and it like on the bottle says 80% of the time it works every time. Like it says it in the box.
I'm gonna have to get that.
It's so great. It is so great. But I mean, Will Ferrell is just stupid funny.
Dude, comic icon. Like even some of his like lesser known movies, I think it's like Everything Must Go or something like that. It's like one of his more like serious movies that he did.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's really good. I definitely recommend it. Let me make sure that's what it's called.
I definitely want to do a Will Ferrell night and an Adam Sandler night now, though, because we could talk about. I would now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Oh, The Campaign.
Oh God, The Campaign.
Let's talk about that.
The following has been removed for being too spicy.
Oh my God. I think that's a good way to end. That's a good note. And I'm gonna go see if my fiance still wants to get married.
All right, guys. I think that's where we're gonna cut this episode. Let us know in the comments below if you'd like to hear us talk about some movies. I think definitely coming up with in the winter here, once sports kind of die down, and we get into like NBA and NHL, we could definitely get into some of those movie bits. So let us know what you guys want to see, genres, movies, actors. Let us know. Thanks for checking in, guys. Have a great week. Bye.